making the most.
Chat, where were we at exactly? Do you remember or not?
Aren't enough people in the country to take those judges.
I think you can. I think the issue is that the judge number has been capped since, I think, the 80s or the 60s in terms of how many judges are allowed to hear these claims. So we haven't had.
It's 5 point.
With Straight Arrow News, the work they're doing gives us a complete picture of the news straight from our phones and tablets with their app. Go to san.org or on again to Straight Arrow.
My next claim is that Donald Trump's economic plans would increase inflation and devastate the economy. Okay.
Interesting.
So under the Trump administration, inflation was consistently at 2%. Under Biden-Harris, it's 5.5.
What do you think the biggest contributor to the Biden-Harris inflation has been?
Well, you could say the supply chain, but I would say the bills that they passed, the Inflation Reduction Act,
So that's part really?
had nothing to do with inflation. The only reason inflation's kind of at 2.5
Oh yeah, you're right. This
now is because they
we
raised interest
were
rates.
we were
It has
about
nothing
to
to do
think
with
after
inflation.
this guy.
Okay, so
Nothing to do with
what
their policy.
was the huge event that probably triggered it?
Steven?
Okay. Yep.
All right, so if Trump is going to be bad for inflation, why is it that when he left office in 2021, inflation was
Already
at
discussed that.
almost an all-time low, practically non-existent at 1.4%. As soon as he left, that's when inflation started rising with the Biden-Harris administration. If he's going to be bad at inflation, why was the economy so good his whole 4 years? If you
border to be closed, you would be.
Do you think that my son has a higher chance of being killed in a school shooting or by an illegal immigrant?
What do you think? So you don't want to answer the question. If your son was killed as a victim at the hands of an illegal criminal, by the way,
why shouldn't we do more base manufacturing?
You don't have 50 hours in the day. You can do more than that. Why wouldn't we let other countries do it?
The reason that manufacturers choose to go out of the country is because America has to pay for things like labor laws, employment, insurance, all these other facets. That's why these big corporations will go to places like China. I have a company called BYD in my backyard that brings in Chinese immigrants and pays them Chinese wages in America. And my representative, Mike Garcia, got that organization defunded because federal funding, my taxes
you think it would be better if we pay, so we need
to a Chinese company in my backyard. I would rather pay American workers to.
So just wait, what the fuck? What the fuck? What are we
$1 an hour to make products? Maybe your company shouldn't exist in America. Maybe you should go to China and make your company. Go to China and make the company. That would be better. You should do that. Yes, I'm arguing that American workers can earn more money than
you are very sad.
I'm saying
you don't love America.
Elon Musk.
You are proving that you don't love America because you don't want Americans to benefit. You don't want American manufacturing to lift people out of poverty. That is sad.
Okay. I don't know whether they're clapping, but okay.
Hi, what's up?
So we already talked about inflation 1.9 under Trump. I think you guys like to leave out deficit spending, which was 8.2 trillion under Biden and 6.7 under Trump.
Why was it so much higher under Biden?
You could say during COVID, but you could also bring in the tax, the total revenue during Biden and Trump was close to the same, and he was spending almost double the amount each year. And you could also talk about the Federal Reserve
Trump running such huge deficits?
You're not going to answer that question, are you? Can you repeat the question?
Why did Donald Trump? Yeah, because you want to gish gab to the next point. Why did Donald Trump engage in massive deficit spending?
Why did Donald Trump engage in massive deficit spending? I don't know the answer. Can you answer it?
Yeah, because he likes to spend, because it makes the economy look better.
Okay, so the same thing that Biden and Harris does.
Yeah, but they have a reason because they're
correct?
Coming in under
at an increasing
rate to stave off recession.
Okay, then what about the Federal Reserve printing $16 trillion in 2 years?
What about the Federal Reserve?
From 2021
the Federal
to 2023.
Reserve's monetary policy.
No, because my point is, you like to blame inflation only on COVID, but you don't want to take in deficit spending. You don't want to take in the Federal Reserve printing money. You also don't want to.
If you want to talk about the Federal Reserve rates were not only low under Trump. He pressured them to be low. He literally bragged about it in his interview, and he said that when he comes back in, one of his goals is to keep the federal interest rates low. He talked about bringing Jerome Powell into his office and threatening him to keep the rates low. So if you don't like deficit spending, if you don't like the Federal Reserve's monetary policy, if you don't like free money, then it feels like Donald Trump is literally the worst case for you.
Well, wouldn't you say the deficit spending is causing inflation? So doesn't that take more money away from Americans by your logic?
I don't know if it takes more money away from America, but deficit spending can lead to...
higher inflation doesn't take money away from Americans?
It can. It's more complicated than that, but yeah, it can. But I'm saying that deficit spending in and of itself is generally inflationary, but there are reasons why you might want a deficit spend. For instance, it's better to have some inflation than it is to have a recession or a full depression, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll agree with that. Now, you bring up tariffs. Now, why did we extend them under Biden, and then why do we double the tariffs from Canada as well if tariffs are so bad? So when Biden does it, it's okay, but when Trump installs them, they're horrible.
So the issue is, if you're talking about specific tariffs as retaliation because somebody else might be tariffing something that they shouldn't, if they're engaging in that, then that type of thing, as was discussed earlier, I think is okay. The reason why a lot of them came in under Trump and they weren't rescinded under Biden is because once somebody's put a tariff in place and then a counter tariff comes up, you have to engage in a negotiation to bring them down. You can't take yours down unilaterally because you just get screwed.
So do you think all economists agree that 10% tariff is bad?
Yes.
You should look at a study 2019 by Jenny Tang, Brent Newman.
I would never look at a single study on that. Yeah.
Increase in inflation.
That's time. Please return to your seat.
Thank you, ma'am.
My next claim is...
Wait, you're right. They give him Nightcrawler. Actually true.
Donald Trump is a fascist. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, Destiny. Destiny, can you define fascism?
I would say the two big points for fascism would be ultranationalism and authoritarianism.
Okay, what is authoritarianism?
I would say that authoritarianism is trying to centralize as much power in like a structural sense into one part of the government, and then in a broader sense, it usually means undermining a bunch of liberal values that you would find, like, say, in the first.
So then how is it that every part of the government which accrues more and more power to itself every single year aren't a bunch of fascists?
Because the government gaining power doesn't necessarily make it fascist. You could say there might be governmental overreach.
I'm
but
still not even sure. What is fascist here, Destiny? What is fascist?
So
Giovanni Gentili, we have definitions of what fascism is. We have third partyists who are out there right now who are fascist. They claim Trump is a populist. Can you tell me why they're wrong and why you're right that he's a fascist?
Well, I would have to know their exact reasons for why they reject Trump being a fascist, but I would say that Trump is a fascist because I think he's an ultranationalist and an authoritarian.
These are your claims.
I'm not
right?
claiming anything that those people said. I've given you my definition for fascist. I gave the two parts. I can explain them more if you want.
So let's start with ultra-authoritarian.
Well, I said ultranationalist and authoritarian.
What is ultranationalism?
So I think ultranationalism is when you engage in a hardcore protectionist ideology that usually involves shutting yourself out from the rest of the world. That could be in forms of international affairs like military conflicts, and it could be in the forms of ultra-protectionist in terms of trade and shutting down things like immigration in order to protect your own native peoples. So, oftentimes there's a heavily racialized element, but there might not have to be.
Okay, well, Donald Trump, you're not saying has a heavy racialized element, are you?
I'm ambivalent. I don't really care on that much.
Well,
I think that he qualifies or satisfies the term without that. But
okay, so let's dive into this real quick. If you have a president who doesn't want to get involved in foreign affairs as far as wars go, and has some type of policies which benefit the United States over all of the nations, is he a fascist?
No.
Well, I'm still confused as to what makes Trump a fascist.
That's because I had two parts of that, and you missed the authoritarian one.
Yeah,
what you described there before was just like protection.
Well, when you said authoritarian, what is he doing, which is accumulating all power to himself?
So he's trying to centralize power in the executive branch of the government, and specifically in the presidential part of the government, of the executive branch.
How?
How Donald Trump thinks that he should be able to unilaterally make decisions up and down all of the different departments and offices that exist in the executive branch.
Presidents use executive orders all the time.
That's not what an executive order is.
Presidents unilaterally make decisions all the time.
No, they don't?
Yes, they do.
No,
they do. They use executive orders all the time.
An executive order doesn't mean that you are taking power away from the departments and offices that have been created.
Right, so where's the fascism here?
Would you like me to give you specific
examples? Yes, give me the specific example.
Sure. So when Donald Trump didn't like the answer that he was getting from his attorney general because he was trying to direct the Department of Justice to do investigations or to fabricate claims, that would be an example of trying to centralize power just to the president, because he's undermining his own department that's been created for him, that's supposed to have some level of independence, that's tasked with doing investigations.
Let me ask you a question. Is the president of the United States the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the United States?
I believe so.
You believe so?
Unless something's changed.
Do they have control of the entire military apparatus, essentially, as the commander-in-chief?
As the commander-in-chief, yes.
Yeah. Is that fascist?
No.
So they have unilateral, basically almost unilateral control by your own metrics of the most mighty military on planet Earth. That's not accumulating enough power, centralized control to one person. It's the fact that he tried to slay some fucking electors. Really?
So the president being the commander-in-chief is specifically laid out in the Constitution. That's an authority granted to him. I don't know what's fascist about that.
Well, because you said it's ultra power. It's this idea of having central power.
Military,
if you have the central power,
I didn't ever bring that up for him. But
if you have the central power of the most mighty military on planet Earth and the codes to the largest nuclear armament on planet Earth, you already have all of the central power, bro.
Really?
Yeah.
How do the nuclear codes help you direct your Department of Justice?
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's not a gotcha.
Is he the
That's
commander-in-chief
just
of the
stupid.
United States Armed Forces?
Are you just arguing that he's the commander? I already agree with you. I don't know why you keep arguing.
What I'm arguing to you is
I'm
that
asking you,
it
how does the
sounds
commander-in-chief use the
you don't
military
get to ask
to
me.
make...
It's your claim.
Well,
I'm asking you about your claim, and your claim is
how does that make
he's a
him control the
fascist.
DOJ? How does the military help him control the DOJ?
Back up. That is the most powerful position I can think of for you to be in, period. How could you
That's a powerful
accumulate-
position.
What
That's a
more,
powerful...
What more accumulation of power would you want for a fascist dictator?
Gotcha. Okay, so that's powerful in that you controlled the military. That's it. That's just control of the military.
Yeah.
For the FBI coming to your house to arrest you, for the DOJ filing charges
said the
against
military
you,
to
for
do
the
it.
EPA, no, the president doesn't do that.
He
I don't know if
could.
no, I
He's
don't believe
the
that he can. I don't believe you can. I don't think that you can deploy the military to arbitrarily arrest U.S. citizens.
You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Well, not this guy again, please, I swear. Please, not again. Dude, this guy's... Bro, get this guy to another seat, man.
You're not voting for Trump.
No.
I am. I think we can have a respectful policy disagreement without labeling one side or the other fascist or communist or Marxist. So let's have a policy disagreement here. You think Donald Trump is a fascist because of ultranationalist tendencies and authoritarianism, correct?
Yeah.
So let me just draft this vision and see if it makes sense. The authoritarianism is ruling by presidential decree, prosecuting political opponents, bringing power into the government, and abandoning our allies abroad. That sounds a lot like the Biden-Harris administration.
So
look at
I would say that, no, wait, we'll go point by point.
Okay,
So first of all, when we talk about abandoning allies abroad, are we referring to, so we haven't cut funding from Israel. Are we referring to when Donald Trump abandoned the Turkish people, or abandoned the Kurdish people to Turkish attacks in Syria? Are we talking about when the Trump administration cut out the Afghanistan government in the Doha Accords when they were talking with the Taliban, when Donald Trump surrendered to the Taliban? Or are we talking about when Biden tried to support Ukraine with the full force of not only the United States economy and our moral support, but also by getting Europe on board to help Ukraine? The idea that the Biden and Harris administration have abandoned our foreign partners is nonsense to me. And also, it's not just about making the government more powerful. I know that Andrew tried to run with that. It's about centralizing power within the government.
Right, and wiping off student loan debts at the expense of working class Americans. I understand that, but let's...
So hold on. Wiping out student loan government, the citation for that was was a bill that was passed from Congress. Biden tried to do that because of it was like extraordinary times you could do something, and he tried to stretch it to that.
Supreme Court
but the
found
Supreme Court said no,
unconstitutional.
and then he didn't do it.
Okay,
Yeah.
but the Supreme Court had to intervene, right?
Well, the Supreme Court made a ruling on it because it was challenged. That's the government like working as...
And he stopped trying to do that right afterward, right? He said, I'm not going to do this anymore, or did he say, I'm going to keep delivering on this promise?
I think he explored other legal avenues to do it.
Okay, well, legal remains to be seen, but let's talk about...
Well, he hasn't done anything illegal, right?
Okay, let's talk about...
Well, he hasn't done anything illegal.
Well, no, he didn't get him. This guy's stupid. He doesn't get it. The fact it didn't go through means that it's not fascist by nature. That's the whole point. It's not a gotcha. It's a counter gotcha.
All right.
We're talking about...
Okay, there's no answer to that. Okay.
Let's talk about October 7th. October 7th would not have happened if President Trump was in office. Ukraine would not have been invaded by Russia if President Trump was in office. You can call...
Okay. If the president says, I want to go to war, okay, and then all the other systems say no, and they still go to war, right? That's fascism in that sense, right? If somebody says, I want to go to war, and the system says, let's not do that, they say, okay, let's not do that then. Okay, then that is not. That makes the system is working.
Call him crazy, you can call him anything. He was an effective deterrent because he understood, Stephen, a little thing we like to call peace.
In that
through
example,
strength. Here's the truth.
In that
The truth is
example,
October 7th probably happened likely because of Trump and his policies.
Well, holy moly, why is that?
Why is that?
Yes, please.
The reason why is because...
it's a component, but in that example, the way the guy used it, he used it like it's that. So I have to use their own parameters. I have to.
Donald Trump engaged in more reckless behavior with Israel that October 7th probably happened likely because of Trump and his policies.
Holy moly, why is that?
Why is that?
Yes, please.
The reason why is
Holy moly,
because
huh?
Donald Trump engaged in more reckless behavior with Israel that only encouraged Israel's expansionism without doing anything to actually address the Palestinian problem. For instance, Donald Trump agreed to moving and recognizing the moving of the embassy to Jerusalem that instigated everybody in the region, including the Palestinians, which is why you saw the whole border riots, the Great March of Return that erupted over the year protesting that. And then Donald Trump, along with Kushner, tried to help Israelis negotiate multilateral peace agreements or more bilateral unilateral peace agreements through the Abraham Accords, again, while cutting out the Palestinians. All of this just continued to drive the Palestinian plight further and further because they saw more and more allies being isolated from them. They saw no recognition out from the United States. And then, obviously, you know, terrorist attacks is all you can do from that point, apparently. So
Trump moved an embassy, got Muslim-majority countries for the first time ever to recognize the rightful existence of the Jewish state of Israel. And that justifies the heinous attack we saw on October 7th.
That guy sponged a lot of info for sure.
1,000.
Who said anything justified
Well, you
anything?
said that Trump was responsible for
I said that
October
Donald
7th.
Trump and his foreign policy posturing is what moved us in that direction.
President Biden was in office for 3 years before October 7th happened. How possibly could that be Trump's fault?
What did Biden do to contribute to the conditions that made October 7th happen?
Very clear, very clear. Iran was only exporting 150,000 barrels of oil a day under Trump. Now they're exporting 1.6 million. They're making hundreds of billions of dollars a year more. That emboldens them to give their proxies weapons, money, and the vigor to attack the Jewish state. And that is unacceptable in the international community. Let me tell you something about President Trump.
Let me tell you something
about President Trump.
The only reason that Hamas attacked Israel, you think the only reason they're able to do is because of increased Iranian funding?
Who funds Hamas?
In part, it's Iran, but Hamas gets funding from all sorts of different adventures.
Who funds Iran?
They get money from Qatar, right?
Who funds? Okay. Who funds Hamas? Of course they do.
Right? Probably
Who gives
more money.
No.
It might have been Qatar, I think, actually.
Well, they give them a Ritz-Carlton hotel room, but listen.
No, they were transferring a whole lot of money to the Gaza Strip. That was one of the big things, one of the big scandals that Netanyahu was involved in, was allowing that money to pass through to the Gaza Strip under
let's
his
just do some
supervision.
quick logical reasoning here. If Iran gets more money, that's good for Hamas, right? You agree on that? Come on.
Broadly speaking.
Yeah, come on. Just concede one thing, Stephen. Come on.
Broadly speaking, probably, yeah.
Okay. All right.
There's more at play here
That's
that I'm
fine.
not even sure if you're aware of. So the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, has some amount of money that's guaranteed to it, regardless of what they're exporting, importing as a country. In general, I'll agree with you, sure, yeah.
And you know what? I am glad that President Trump ordered the assassination of Qasem Soleimani, because that man is responsible for death and destruction. The targets he made on the Jewish state were completely unacceptable.
Okay.
Stephen,
I don't even think the targets he made on American citizens in Iraq was unacceptable.
Well,
I have no love lost for Soleimani. I'm glad the dude's dead. I'm not going to sit here and defend it, but Donald Trump doesn't do anything good foreign policy-wise for Israel. He doesn't have a vision for the region. That's why he had to basically leave all of it to his son-in-law Kushner.
So, why was Crimea annexed under Obama? Why was Ukraine invaded under Biden? Why did nothing happen under Trump for 4 years? It was a complete stalemate, complete stability.
Crimea was still occupied, right?
Okay, but it was annexed under who?
Hold on. It was still occupied, right?
Of course, but let's be realistic.
There was a civil war that was raging in the Donbass the entire time, right?
Accelerate. Did it accelerate? Was there new land claims?
Yes, there was more, not new land claims, but the civil war in the
Kyiv
Donbass.
Being bombed?
But the civil war in the Donbass was still going on. What did Donald Trump do about that?
The world is safer
Nothing.
under President Trump.
It
The world was safer under President Trump. The world knows that, Stephen, and the world's going to show that on November 5th.
Okay.
Two minutes before this.
So would you attribute fascism to maybe a dictator?
I mean, a dictator can be fascistic, sure.
Okay. So on Biden's first
bro, come on, man. Sunglasses inside. Bro can't speak. Like
day in office, he signed 17 executive orders. Trump signed 1. Most of the executive orders that Biden signed were to halt like the border and other Trump immigration policies.
I don't think executive orders have anything to do with fascism.
Would you attribute those to being a dictator?
No.
Attribute.
Well, then what other claim do you have that he is a fascist compared to...
I think that Donald Trump reaching into and trying to direct his apartments to do probably illegal things.
Well, Biden did that too with Facebook. He came out and said, Zuckerberg came out and said that Biden and Harris came to him to pretty much limit what Trump...
I don't think that was the claim. I think that what Zuckerberg said was that he felt pressured by some of the intelligence agencies to censor stories that they had censored, and he felt like he regretted that, or he didn't want to do that.
Like
but I don't think anything.
Laptop, for example.
Well, that wasn't done because of any direct pressure from any of the intelligence agencies. We saw that in the Twitter files. There was never a claim.
Well, then why would Zuckerberg come out and say, "I'm not going to"?
Well, I'm talking about the Twitter files. Zuckerberg had his reasons that he listed in his letter to Jordan, but none of this was illegal.
Well, I'm not saying it's illegal, but I'm saying, would you not say that's kind of dictatorial, kind of fascist?
No, I don't think so. It's all like out in the open. Like at the end of the year, like Twitter and Facebook are publishing like how much they're charging.
Let's say the roles were reversed, and then Trump did that to Biden. Would you then call him a fascist for doing that?
For doing what?
for pressuring, as you said, Zuckerberg or Meta to limit.
If Donald Trump's intelligence agencies had felt like there was like information.
Well, I don't think the problem is the Hunter laptop. It's the fact that the suppression did happen. I think it could be about his dead fish Nemo, and it would still be relevant. I think once you start interfering like that, I think it's an odd zone to be in.
That was being illegally offered into the United States from foreign enemies or whatever, and that department was like,
the laptop was proven.
No, but that was the laptop wasn't proven anything, but that was the fear, and that was the fear that they had shared with those companies, but they didn't force them directly to take any action. Again, we can read the Twitter files, we can go through the emails.
I'm not talking about Twitter, I'm talking about Facebook. I'm talking about Meta.
For Facebook, Zuckerberg also didn't allege any illegal action. He just said there was pressure from some of the agencies to like censor what they perceived to be as threats or misinformation or whatever. I think some of it had to do like COVID misinformation and shit as well, I think.
Okay.
Which we can argue, like, should they have the role to do that or not? I just don't know if that's necessarily fascistic, like Donald Trump trying to direct his DOJ to, like, go after certain people or trying to direct his DOJ to, like...
Biden's done that with all the...
There's zero evidence for any of that. And probably, it's almost certainly not true if you look at how Merrick Garland has gone after, for instance, his son.
It was suppressed for the fear of what was on the laptop. I don't think that matters. I think that's irrelevant.
Okay, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seats.
You could probably justify. Okay, then you can. Okay, if you use justification for what something is suppressed, then you can suppress anything at that point. You can suppress anything that you want to. You should, and you should, because why? Because the only thing you can say is like, we had to suppress it because it was gonna be something. You could just like it's. Well, I think it's something you just do or you just don't. I'm sorry to tell you.
Hi.
I'm Tia. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So I wanted to hone in on the part about nationalism. Can you explain that again in a little bit more detail?
Sure. So I would say more ultranationalism than just nationalism, but it's this idea that, you know, basically screw the rest of the world. We're going to hardcore cut immigration. We're going to hardcore cut our trade. We're going to hardcore cut our association with anybody else. And we're just going to be like our own little, basically, island nation. I think it's a very bad direction to go in.
And who's taking us in that direction?
I think that's what Donald Trump wants to do.
Wants to do? He was in office for 4 years. Did he do that?
Well, Donald Trump began some tariff processes. He tried to do a full Muslim ban. He took steps towards that. He took steps towards that, right? You acknowledge that he did try to ban 7 Muslim majority countries, right?
You're a U.S.
He did do that. He did do tariffs. You acknowledge that, right?
Do you like being an American? NATO. Are you glad to be able to live here?
I'm glad to be able to live here. Am I glad to be an American? I am, but I don't know what that means to you. But to me, I am.
Which is interesting because something that I've started to realize in the last few years is people who love America, who love living here, have been titled nationalists, and it's like a threat all of a sudden.
People that label themselves MAGA that say they love America have nothing to do with American values and nothing in common with the core values of this country. So they're the least American people.
Please explain.
Sure, the desire to elect somebody who says the most obviously fascist things in the world, like the media is the enemy of the people, a guy who says he wants to terminate the Constitution, a guy who says he'd be a dictator on day one.
Who's terminating the Constitution?
Donald Trump said that he believes he could terminate the Constitution because of voter
fraud.
fraud.
It's so crazy because I've been hearing a lot lately from your side that the Constitution isn't necessary anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry. Which lawmaker or presidential candidate said that?
Your side.
Which, is that the name first and last? Your side?
Yeah.
Like Miss Side? Or is she a congressman? Or is she a senator? Or I don't know which leader has said that, so I can't speak to that. I don't know who you follow on Twitter, so I can't
as an American.
But anyway, you acknowledge that Donald Trump said that in times of like great peril, you can suspend the Constitution, and that he would do that for voter fraud.
For voter fraud?
He said that, yes. On Truth Social, he said that.
I'm sure there's a longer quote that I can look up later. I would love to do that, but I'm sure you're using it out of context.
Okay, you'll look it up later, and you won't ever talk about it again because it's an abhorrent quote. You acknowledge Donald Trump said that.
Because you know me so well.
Because you're on that side, I know.
Okay.
You agree that Donald Trump said that he would be a dictator on day one?
He did not say he would be a dictator on day one.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So as an American, I believe that it's a privilege and a blessing to live here. And under the Biden and Harris administration, my life has gotten a lot worse and a lot more difficult. Has your life gotten better or has it gotten worse?
I'd say my life has gotten better.
Well, congratulations. You're the only person in this room, maybe. But when I go to the grocery store, and you mentioned about inflation and everything, but when I go to the grocery store and a bag of groceries is like $50 and I have 2 kids to feed, do you think that that helps me as an American, or do you think that hurts me as an American?
I think an expansion of the child tax credit would help you a lot more than another tax cut for wealthy billionaires.
A couple $1,000s isn't going to change my life, especially when...
Another $6,000 a year wouldn't help you at all with groceries?
With 2 children?
Yeah?
This much, maybe, but if the price
of... What are your children eating?
Okay, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seats.
Already? What?
maybe, but when I go to the grocery store, and you mentioned about inflation and everything, but when I go to the grocery store and a bag of groceries is like $50 and I have 2 kids to feed, do you think that that helps me as an American, or do you think that hurts me as an American?
I think an expansion of the child tax credit would help you a lot more than another tax cut.
More, bro.
Said that in times of like great peril, you can suspend the Constitution, and that he would do that for voter fraud.
For voter fraud?
He said that, yes. On Truth Social, he said that.
I'm sure there's a longer quote that I can look up later. I would love to do that, but I'm sure you're using it out of context.
Okay, you'll look it up later, and you won't ever talk about it again because it's an abhorrent.
What?
Quote, you acknowledge
How
Donald
could
Trump
you know
said
me
that
so well?
because you're on that side, I know.
Okay.
You agree that Donald Trump said that he would be a dictator on day one?
He did not say he would be a dictator on day one.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So, he did not say he would be a dictator on day one.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So, as an American, I believe that it's a privilege and a blessing to live here. And under the Biden and Harris administration, my life has gotten a lot worse and a lot more difficult. Has your life gotten better, or has it gotten worse?
I'd say my life has gotten better.
Well, congratulations. You're the only person in this room, maybe. But when I go to the grocery store, and you mentioned about inflation and everything, but when I go to the grocery store and a bag of groceries is like $50 and I have 2 kids to feed, do you think that that helps me as an American, or do you think that hurts me as an American?
I think an expansion of the child tax credit would help you a lot more than another tax cut for wealthy billionaires.
A couple $1,000s isn't going to change my life, especially when
another $6,000 a year wouldn't help you at all with groceries?
With 2 children?
Yeah?
This much, maybe. But if the price
what are your
of
children
groceries...
eating?
Okay, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you, Chrissy.
I'm Steve.
So, I would like to address, because earlier I feel like this was kind of dodged on a little bit. Earlier you directly said that Trump was authoritarian, then you said he was ultra-nationalist, and then you said he was authoritarian, then you said he was ultra-nationalist again. You kind of bounced back and forth. So which do you think
well, I would say both. He's both, right?
Both, right. But then when the topic of ultra-nationalism brought up, you said, well, he's more authoritarian. And then that again changed to, well, he's more ultra-nationalist. So which, in your mind, is he? Is he more authoritarian, or is he more ultra-nationalist?
I don't know how to answer. It's like asking if a square is more blue or 5 feet.
Well, because you said that. Well, because you said that he was more nationalist, and then you said he was more authoritarian. You said both claims. So I want to know which claim is he more nationalist or is he more authoritarian?
I don't know how to say which one he's more of. He's both.
Because
they're not competing things. I don't think I ever said that. I don't remember. Do you remember what was his response to?
I believe it was first gentleman who spoke.
Okay, he might have said something like, you said that he was ultra-national. I said yes, and an authoritarian, but he was, because just being one of these things is enough to be a fascist.
So why is nationalism at all even bad in the first place?
I don't know if nationalism is necessarily bad. I think that people kind of swap it out with patriotism sometimes. That's why there's the prefix ultranationalism. Ultranationalism is bad because when you elevate your own country, just like
what did he do for ultranationalism?
When he talks about putting terrorists across the board for every single other country on the planet.
So helping our country's economy is not. It's not.
It wouldn't be helping us.
He was not helping our economy during his presidency when he was actually literally getting us to import rice to China. Rice to China is benefiting our economy. Is that not? Is replacing China as one of China's biggest farming with ours. And as this gentleman also brought up with our manufacturing, how is bringing manufacturing over here, which is helped by tariffs, how is that
we manufacture things here. If we've got more people manufacturing baser goods, then we can't manufacture more sophisticated goods. There's a reason Elon Musk, because you only have so many people.
Okay, pause. That's time. Please return to your chair.
My next claim is the Make America Great Again movement would not exist without massive amounts of disinformation.
No. Hello, Destiny.
Hi.
Fancy seeing you here again.
Yep.
I thought it was a
here
slogan.
to warn you some more.
Yep.
All right, let's go.
Okay.
Let's get it going. Can you state some of the disinformation?
Sure. I think over the past few weeks, we've seen absurd claims relating to hurricanes being manufactured by weather machines. We've seen outright lies about the National Guard and FEMA like blowing away supplies and trapping people in their homes, and lying about Biden providing financial aid to states, even though Trump is the one that has threatened to withhold aid. We've seen lies about the Haitians eating dogs and cats, and Springfield. I can go on.
Have you I have a few questions.
Yeah.
Have you left the United States?
Yeah.
Where have you been?
I've been through Israel and Palestine. I've gone across Europe. I've been to New Zealand. I've been to places in Asia. I don't know what.
Okay, so you're like me. You've been everywhere.
This bitch can make me fucking
so
vote
you've seen some of these claims. You've like literally seen them to be true, or that they're false rather. So
I mean, I haven't seen how a hurricane is made.
Okay.
I've talked to every Haitian in Springfield. So.
All right. So what was the second point you brought up? About you said something about the camps and not looking that way. That was my point. Have you been to these camps and have you seen the conditions and things that
the FEMA camps?
Yeah.
Or? No.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Period. The end. So you're saying no, you haven't, but you're saying it's disinformation. So how do you know that it's disinformation? Which is why I brought up the point: have you left the country? Have you seen with your own eyes what's going on in these camps? And
do you understand that for any type of society in an advanced civilization to work, you have to be able to rely on third-party people to report to you things that are true?
Right. But there's so much fake news out there today. Exactly. So my question is to you though: is that have you seen these claims?
Chad, these people are the classic guys, I don't know. Guys, people say a brick in the face hurts, but I never tried it. Throw a brick at me. Like, this argument will never make sense. I think it's so brain dead.
You've seen these places with your own eyes. Do you know what's going on?
No, but I don't have time to verify everything with my own eyes.
I know, because you're too busy teaching gamers how to be nerding out.
Because I can't verify every single thing in the world with my own eyes.
Just like you couldn't verify the fact that you enjoy getting pegged, right? Actually, you did verify that. Anyways, but that was just a...
Technically, you need a mirror to see that, but I don't know why you'd even...
It was a B-side.
Are we here to talk sex for 20 minutes? We can do that if you want,
No.
Okay.
So what other claims were, like, not
what
valid
the fuck?
How many? I mean,
something else.
I mean, the election, the 2020 election, the voter fraud claims for that were all fabricated.
Right. You've been voted
all right,
out by the majority. Please return to your seats.
I think that both sides thrive on misinformation. I think
An
average people
emergency
don't have enough
joke,
time in their lives to decipher what's true and what's not. I think that's the case for most people who work 9 to 5, unfortunately. But I think that your side also thrives off of misinformation. I think that you actually just did the meme a second ago. You said that the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was just tax cuts for the rich. But in fact, people making $15,000 to $50,000
I think he said disinformation, not misinformation, but that's all.
Received a tax cut of 16 to 26%.
The majority of the money went to wealthy people.
Why is that? It's because wealthy people pay more taxes, Stephen.
Yeah.
So their share of tax burden is obviously going to be in volume more physical dollars. Yes.
But when it comes to the budget, all that matters is the absolute.
Yeah. Do you concede that proportionally, middle class people received more in tax breaks than rich people?
Proportionally to their income?
Yes.
Possibly.
Or their tax burden.
But the problem is the effect at the end of the day on the budget then is going to be the biggest outlay is going to be towards wealthy people, right? Our deficits are increasing because all the money that wealthy people are saving, right?
Okay, sure. Fair enough. But I think already, 90% of taxes are paid by 50% of the country and 50% of taxes are paid by 1% of the country. I always hear this thing of the billionaires, the rich people aren't paying their fair share, but it seems to me that they've been paying more than their fair share since America's inception, and the middle class actually has been paying not.
Okay, this guy is actually brain dead. I don't think he can recover from that.
Their fair share. And I'm not saying that we should increase taxes on the middle class, but what I'm saying is the billionaires are definitely paying their fair share.
They pay a lot for sure, but if you want to fund all the programs that we have, you have to tax people more.
Back to the misinfo thing.
Okay.
I mean,
I agree that both sides engage in misinformation. I just think that conservatives do it on a whole other level. Donald Trump will get up and lie as easily as he breathes. If you watch any of the interviews that he gives, it's lie after lie after lie after lie.
Same thing with Kamala Harris.
Not
and
even
Tim Walz.
close to the same level. There's a reason why they asked Tim Walz, did you lie? Were you 3 months off on when you went to China?
And then he filibustered for 5 minutes.
And then for Vance, it was, do you believe the results of the last election?
Yeah, no, I agree with
these
you.
are totally different types. You agree? Yeah, these are totally different types of claims, right?
But your side's constantly touting lies. Saying inflation is lower now than it was under Trump. Pre-COVID inflation rate was 2.4%.
I had to run for that one. Why did Biden say he ran for president?
I don't remember.
Do you remember the video he released at the beginning when he launched his campaign?
For the 2020 election or for the... I don't remember now.
He says because of Charlottesville. And he specifically cited that Donald Trump called the Nazis fine people. Do you believe that?
So, yes. I don't know why...
No, I'm sorry.
Hold on, wait. I understand what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say. It's people like to go to the... So some people present this as Donald Trump saying that the Nazis were good people. He didn't. He said there were good people on both sides of that rally. But it was a rally that had Nazis. I don't know in what world you would ever say that. The full quote doesn't exculpate. It's not exculpatory at all, therefore.
The full quote, he said, the Nazis and white supremacists I completely disavow. So he disavowed them.
After he was pushed several times to do so.
No, that's not true. He said it in the speech. He said it in the speech.
Okay.
He said it in the speech. And they took him out of context and said that he called them fine people. Right after he said the fine people line, he said, I disavow the Nazis. So that's a lie that the Biden campaign.
I disagree that it was a lie. His quote on its own of him saying there were fine people on both sides in a tiki tally on a tiki torch rally, that is insanity.
He say disavow.
That is insanity.
No,
it's one of the easiest. This was like a question on a retard test saying like, hey, listen, here's a rally with a bunch of guys. Sorry, my bad. Streamer language. My bad. Streamer language. There's a rally, and on one side you got a bunch of people with tiki torches. How would you describe the rally? And you go, well, there are fine people on both sides. It's the most easy bait in the world to say. You probably should just say that side is a bad side. Considering how much people claim that like you have to disavow all the BLM, all of this, all rise.
It was a protest over the removal of the Confederate statues. There were people that were normal people there.
Were there people there with tiki torches?
That was at the night before. That's irrelevant because he disavowed the Nazis.
You've been voted out. Please return to your seat.
What's up, Steven?
Hi, what's up?
So, tell me, misinformation, you mean like fake dossiers or like rhetoric that has a president get assassinated? Or attempts to get assassinated? You mean like...
Oh, chat.
Tell me, misinformation, you mean like fake dossiers or like rhetoric that has a president...
mean like blah, 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 this like blah, blah, blah.
get assassinated? Or attempts to get assassinated? You mean like that kind of misinformation that caused 3 assassination attempts?
Do you know why those people tried those assassination attempts?
I don't know. You're your friends, right? Didn't you say like one of the Republicans that should have got shot, right? You didn't have no problem with that, right?
My friends.
So I mean, that's the level of disinformation.
Weren't 2 of them like registered Republicans?
So they say. I think weren't they watching your content?
Were they watching my content?
Yeah, that's what they said.
Who's they?
They,
the Jews, or
I don't know about that.
Okay.
Isn't that the same misinformation? The dossiers, the rhetoric that he's a bad, he's going to ruin the country. Oh, like the one that Hillary Clinton bought, right?
The one that was published by BuzzFeed Media.
The fake one.
I don't know.
The one that whole FBI, investigation that wasted a whole bunch of Americans' money, right?
No, I don't think.
This guy is destroying that government. This guy is off the rock.
I think that the Mueller investigation turned out more credible indictments and information than the Hillary Clinton email investigation, than the whole Benghazi waste of time.
Yeah, but it was all that stuff that came from the Democrat Party.
This is Destiny's dealer. That's why. Oh, I got it.
Fake
news,
right? Is that what you're talking about?
I don't know if you call it fake news. It was a dossier that they paid for to be researched by a person. They said that there was low confidence in a lot of it. Just like, for instance, do you acknowledge it also about Hunter Biden and his illegal dealings with Burisma and Joe Biden, like profiting off that? That's all fake news too?
No, I just know he does a lot of cocaine.
Okay.
Did you do cocaine with him?
No, I don't.
You coom with him?
Not recently, no.
Because you are the Coomer Gremlin, right?
Am I the Coomer Gremlin?
Well, we know you are.
Yeah? Like Donald Trump is? When he was like a prostitute like 4 years or 4 months after his wife had a child at home when he was cheating with Stormy Daniels?
You mean like how you take your wife to go get banged out by a bunch of dudes and suck
Am I running for president
dick?
right now? Are you going to vote for me? Or
no, I wouldn't vote for you.
So do you remember when Donald Trump was Stormy Daniels?
No, but do you remember when you were sucking
a
dick on
4 months after she had a child? You remember that?
You remember that?
You notice that?
Remember that?
I like that the standard that you set for me is the same as you set for your president. I'm not running for president. You understand that,
You're not my standard for the president.
Okay, well then why are you comparing Trump to me?
Because I'm just...
They just had a meeting before this or whatever, right? It's like, guys, in case you're cornered, do not to look bad, just do a cuck joke. Like, every single time, it's been 3 in a row now.
Okay, so everybody seems to be bringing up neo-Nazis and neo-nationalism. That seems to be coming up, and I want to know why. Under Obama, Joe Biden was the vice president. Under Obama, and our United States government, this is a fact, organized a coup against the government.
Why did they talk like that, chat? Because they call everybody NPCs and shit like that, and they go, are you sure that this has actually happened? Like, why did they do that?
Ukraine. And Ukraine is known as one of the #1 countries where neo-Nazis are going to train. You have the Azov Battalion, you have the right sector.
So the Azov Battalion, I think at its most had like 600 or 700 people that might have been identified as neo-Nazis. Maybe, #1. #2, the United States did not engage in any type of coup or anything.
There is a coup. It's reported. Yeah,
no, it's
not. Victoria Nuland.
Yeah, I understand. I'm aware of the Nuland leak. All she said was that we would
aware of the Nuland leak with Jeffrey
leaked phone
Pyatt,
call
then
where
why
all
did they
where
remove Jeffrey Pyatt from the embassy?
The leaked call
Why
just
did they
said that they
remove
would
Jeffrey
prefer
Pyatt from the
one
embassy?
leader of another.
Why did
There's
they kick him out of
absolutely
Ukraine?
no evidence
All of
that
this is on
Euromaidan was
video. This is on
concocted.
video.
You're delusional. You're a crazy
Maidan?
person.
I'm a
You're
crazy person because of Maidan?
You're a
okay,
crazy person.
okay,
Yes.
привет, как дела? No, нет.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. You don't understand what happened, and you're making
Yep.
up claims that aren't true. These are actual recordings from Victoria.
No, we've
Nuland
all
and
heard them
Jeffrey
15
Pyatt.
million times because it's the only things that you guys can propagate to try to claim that the United States engaged in a coup
You
over
guys
there.
haven't brought this up at all. I'm bringing it up right now.
No,
Okay,
it was brought up all the
As of
time. Yeah.
You've been voted out by the majority.
Hi.
So I just want to address the fact, recently we had a debate, and so there wasn't any fact checks on Kamala Harris really anytime.
Yo, can any of these fucking magatards speak properly, brother? And that's coming from me of all fucking people, man. Just say a sentence straight without sounding fucking brain dead. On God.
Especially when she claimed that Democrats don't support third trimester abortion.
Well,
that
they sound like they chew on crayons and fucking sniff fucking gas, brother.
never happens. That recently happened not too long ago in Washington, D.C. with Caesar Santangelo. There were 5 third trimester babies who were aborted. We've seen this with Kermit Gosnell as well.
Can I ask, what were those 5 babies aborted for?
Why does that matter? They were still killed third trimester, fully developed.
Well,
Their
the
spines.
Alright, call me a DJ and I don't give a fuck, okay? But if something happens and your sample size is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, over like a bunch of years, I don't give a fuck what it is, brother. I don't care.
Completely
I don't give a fuck. I don't care.
Was the abortion a part of like a medical procedure for the life of the mother?
No.
So it was a totally
It was an
elective.
elective,
Okay,
yes.
I'll look it up afterwards.
If you can move the political needle with such a small sample size, at that point you're encouraging people to manufacture it and do it on purpose in order to move that needle on purpose. It's fucking odd. It is such a weird thing to fucking do, I'm telling you.
My understanding is, 1, this is incredibly rare. 2, I don't even know if the vast majority of Democrats would support this. 3, I don't know if the vast majority of like pro-choice people would support this.
But the thing is,
I haven't-
over
I would have to look-
90% of Democrats actually
I'm not
don't.
cooked.
They
If you can fucking make the whole political system move on an issue with fucking like 3 deaths or 3 murders, how some people will literally go and do it, like because it's if it's all it takes, really.
are okay they are okay with there not being any limits on abortion. If we look at the states, there's 6 states, including Washington, D.C., which is a district, that has no restrictions on abortion. That means that all of those states are Democrat states. So, yes, that side is perpetuating and at least setting a very dangerous precedent that this can happen in those states.
I think the reason why they advocate for no laws in those states, and I would have like maybe there's a better way to craft a law for it, but the problem is that if you make it illegal, then if a medical issue does come up, there's a potential roadblock or a hurdle there where a person might die waiting to get some type of like legal
But someone
approval for
always
something.
dies in an abortion. Someone always dies. A human being always dies.
With all
when
due
we don't
respect,
have
this is an insane position, and
No,
I'm
it's
not
not.
going
How
to
is
take the
it an
position. I'm not going to
insane
take the position that the life of the fetus is going to be prioritized over the life of the mother because you want to make an abortion illegal there in that case. I don't think you have
So
the right
it's
to make that
okay to
decision.
kill a human
I think that
being
I
just
think it's
for
better.
any
I think
sort
that
of
the mother and I
reason.
think that the family should be making that decision.
So-
I don't think that the government should be stepping in and saying, we're
I
gonna
don't think
choose
that
this
the
life or
government
other
should
life.
allow people to kill people for no reason.
But
That's
you're
what
saying that you would turn the woman away from medical treatment because she can't engage in an abortion. at
No,
that point
that's
in time.
not what I'm saying. That's not the claim that I'm making. What I'm saying is that side is saying that no one supports it, that no laws are giving precedent for third trimester abortions when that's happening. And even if it is a small number, say it's 1% of all abortions, that's still over 15,000 abortions. That's 3 times the amount of kids who die in school shootings, which is a tragedy, and that's an issue we all need to fix. But that's still a significant amount of people that are dying from abortion, and no Democrat is acknowledging that. And I think it should be at least acknowledged.
Okay, I mean, if Republicans want to put together any type of like pro-choice legislation that they feel like Democrats would support, I mean, then they can have that conversation. But obviously, that's not going to happen. So
No,
when
it's not,
Democrats are
'cause it's not
engaging
okay
in
to kill
that, because when Democrats are engaging with that conversation with Republicans bring up the third trimester stuff, but you guys don't actually care about third trimester.
Why do
You
we not
about-
care?
Because
Your
I'm
side
about to
doesn't-
explain it. Because you care about all 3 trimesters. You just use it exactly. So you don't want to ban third trimester abortion. You want to ban all abortion.
yes,
but you
absolutely.
hyperfixate on the third trimester abortion as a way to get
No,
into the
because
conversation.
it's happening because your side denies that it happens, and it does
Even
happen.
if they acknowledge that it happened, or even if they ban third trimester abortion, you guys would still want to get rid of
So
all
you're
abortion.
okay with third trimester abortion?
I'm
Okay, pause. Please return to your seats.
Number one, I'm a MAGA gangster. I'm outside when it comes.
Loves women. I don't know if you respect people like McCarthy.
Jenny, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So you think that people that support Trump are in a cult? Why is that?
I feel like Donald Trump is basically untouchable. He can do no wrong. The entire conservative party is basically centered around Donald Trump. Any person that goes against Donald Trump, it can be so many people. Everybody still looks at all of those people around him as being the fault and never Donald Trump. When Donald Trump was in office, it was because of the swamp. When people like Barr turned against him, it was because he was a rhino. When people like McCarthy didn't, like carry his banner, it's because he's a rhino. People it's this labeling of every single person around this as a bad guy is, oh, those people are rhinos and Trump is great and Trump can do no wrong, basically.
I think that's false. I don't think Trump is a perfect human being. I think anybody out here that's voting for Trump knows that he is not innocent. No top businessman, no top politician got to the top without getting their hands dirty. I think what we're all voting for is based on his policies. I think he prioritizes the economy. I think he stands for women's rights, and that is something that's very, very important to me. Do you think that Trump likes women? Do you think he respects them at all?
Trump loves women. I don't know if he respects them. When we say
really?
that people
you don't
supports,
think so?
No.
Why not?
I think the types of statements alone that he makes about women, I think, call that into question. But you said earlier that people support Trump because of his policies. I don't think that's true because I don't even know what policies of Trump that nobody even talks about them.
Oh, really? He posted on his Twitter, he posted that like 20 promises he's going to make to America. He's going to make trans women competing in women's sports illegal. I think that is something that needs to be said, that he does support women in that register.
Are these things are these like the most important issues to you?
I think so.
Okay.
I am a woman after all. At least I know I am.
You're competing in a lot of NCAA or whatever athletic events?
I attended San Jose State. I graduated from there. You do realize that there is a transgender person that's on that volleyball team and nobody on that team was told that there was a transgender woman on there?
I didn't know this was the largest issue in the election for you. It just seems like a pretty minor thing altogether.
I think women's rights in general is a big thing.
Okay, but not the right to an abortion.
I mean,
so you talk about misinformation, but you're giving us a ton of misinformation right now. You said, seems like nobody in MAGA even wants to talk about any of the issues of Donald Trump.
Bro, these megatards, man, it was disinformation that was said, and all four of them got it wrong. Fuck me.
Had multiple debaters come up, talk to you about multiple economic policies, compare and contrast them with Kamala, gave you great reason.
I don't think I heard any economic policy from Trump when he was in 4 years.
Okay, no, back up. Now you're switching the claim. So what you just claimed is I don't hear MAGA people talk about this at all.
I don't think I heard any.
That's what you said, and yes, they did. They brought up the capital gains policies. They also brought up tariffs. They brought up the tariff policies. They brought up multiple economic policies. Total misinfo.
Okay.
Total misinfo for you to say they didn't. They absolutely did. Are you disputing that nobody here brought up any policies of Donald Trump?
I think that when you're talking policies from somebody, if the only thing you have are tariffs, it's not really a strong policy foundation.
I'm sorry. Did you use the word any? You don't hear anybody talk about that?
I'm speaking like a human being right now.
Oh, but when Donald Trump speaks like a human being, he's a liar.
Donald Trump doesn't speak like a human being.
Yeah, he's
a moron.
Anytime.
I'm sorry, but Donald Trump speaks like an idiot.
So would you say it's misinformation, for instance? Is it misinformation when you say that a firefighter who got murdered at a rally, when you laugh at that and you say that that's totally fine, are you spreading misinformation?
I don't know if I said that's totally fine. I think I said I don't really have any sympathy for
you didn't. You laughed about it. You thought it was funny. You didn't give a shit. You were under fire on Twitter for weeks until you finally backed away.
I haven't backed away from any of those statements.
Yeah.
You can go find the
You haven't backed away from any of them?
No, not at all.
You don't care that the guy died, right?
People died. Rallies.
Yeah, you don't care.
When this side is involved in some of the most violent, divisive. Here's a question.
You care about misinfo?
Here's a question. That has nothing to do with misinfo. Here's a question.
I'll
wait.
explain how it's misinfo.
Do you disavow any of the rhetoric about Paul Pelosi? Do you disavow any of the rhetoric about Paul Pelosi?
What? Even if I made any outrageous claim possible, it has nothing to do with your claim, which is what we're talking about. We're talking about your claim. Stop switching.
He doesn't, of course not.
Stop
switching. He doesn't acknowledge what happened on January 6th. He doesn't acknowledge that
you're
people are turning away FEMA right now because they're convinced that the federal government is going to take their houses.
Stop spurging.
You are, you're
stop
just engaging all the time.
You
can say stop spurging over and over again. I'm not here to talk about my tweets, but if that's what you really want to talk about, you do it. I've tweeted crazier shit than that, I promise.
Are you going to acknowledge that you said totally fine? You didn't care. You just said right now you don't care.
You can look at all my
How
tweets.
is it? Now, let me explain how
What
it's.
does that have to do with
I'm
misinformation?
going to explain how it's misinformation.
Okay.
Because don't you think that if you make claims like Donald Trump is un-American, Donald Trump doesn't like the Constitution, and then you have an assassin come, he tries to kill Donald J. Trump at a rally, another American dies. Aren't you spreading misinformation by saying to people, this is okay? Isn't that un-American?
I don't think I've ever said this is okay.
Isn't it
I've said
un-American?
over and over again that there shouldn't be any political violence in the United States.
Great.
It's not good.
That's
you can laugh.
great.
You guys are the ones that
Donald
support
Trump
it.
said that at
You
January
guys deny
6th.
it.
He said it during January
After
6th.
he sat and watched it happen for 3
well,
hours.
after the
when he was
guy died,
only
now you're
person-
sorry about your
What-
rhetoric.
Who said I was sorry?
Yeah, you're not
Excuse me.
sorry,
Please stop
exactly.
projecting onto me.
Not
I never said I was sorry
sorry at
about
all.
anything.
Yeah, you don't-
I've not said that. Yeah, unlike you, I have a spine over the things that I say, okay?
No,
Number one.
okay.
Number two, Donald Trump and your side are the ones that have engaged in divisive rhetoric for years. This idea that saying Donald Trump is un-American when Donald Trump himself says that he would be a day one dictator,
Divisive rhetoric
that he would
is fine.
suspend the Constitution. I'm sorry, if the divisive
There's a
rhetoric is
difference between
quoting
divisive
Donald
rhetoric
Trump
and
against you,
assassinating the
that's
guy.
Donald Trump's problem. Maybe he
Your
should
rhetoric
say
has
that are
led to
un-American.
assassination attempts, and one of the guys who died there, you don't even give a shit, and I've said this multiple times. And at the same time, you're like, oh, I love America. What kind of bullshit is this, Destiny?
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's
when you guys start
unbelievable.
taking accountability for some of the crazy things that you say, come and talk to me, okay? Come and talk to me.
Okay, so we're gonna do a 5-minute extension.
All right, I want to go back to kind of your original claim, which...
Disinformation.
Well, can you restate your original claim?
I think MAGA thrives on disinformation. They are in a totally different reality now than they ever have been.
So that actually wasn't your original claim. Your original claim was that...
The MAGA movement wouldn't exist without the amount of disinformation. Yeah, something like that.
Right, okay. So how can you possibly know that?
Well, I can't know through all possible worlds if they wouldn't...
Right, exactly. So right off the bat, your initial claim is false.
Okay, well, if this is a philosophy 101 class, then you've completely and totally debunked me, sir. Yeah.
Wow, great, I've debunked it. Great. Well, so great, your initial claim is false.
The fact that they clap at that is the most like, what the fuck?
Glad you can admit that. Now, you want to go to the disinformation topic. Well, one, I think a lot of the rhetoric that you're spewing is very divisive for our nation because a lot of the times you're assuming people's intentions on these things, right? You're assuming that people are purposefully ignorant when you're in no position to actually know something like that.
I don't know if people are purposely ignorant or not. I actually, unironically, I hold the individuals a lot less accountable than I do the content creators.
Well, but you don't talk to people like that.
Well, I usually am talking to content creators. Even most of the people in here, I think, are like on TikTok or something else. I've seen a lot of these faces.
Okay, so that's an assumption without any evidence.
Hold on, are you saying that I'm assuming without evidence that most of the people that I talk to tend to be like
No, most of the people in this room. That's what you're assuming.
Okay.
So anyways, again, you're assuming the intentions of these people, and that's not true. You're assuming that we're part of this MAGA cult, which is not true at all.
I mean, the guy here earlier literally said that Trump.
Well, okay. Well, maybe some people, right? And
okay.
I don't believe that Trump can do no wrong, and I think most Republicans believe that, right? I'm disgusted by some of his personal behavior. I think his stances on abortion. He's gone way too far left.
You've been voted out by the majority.
Hey, well, your original claim was false, so that's great to hear.
Like, brother, megatards have this capability of ignoring one word or one piece of information and still holding the same conclusion that nobody else can do it. They literally said philosophically, right? And this guy just completely missed the point entirely. He said, "Yep, then I'm right. Then yep, then I'm right." And I'm like, okay, I guess you're right.
So, you made the claim that MAGA wouldn't exist or Make America wouldn't exist without
all the
misinformation.
Yeah.
Obviously not a true statement. I think you just admitted that.
Well, I mean, likely they would. I can't prove that 100%.
Okay, and this started way back during the Reagan years, so, that...
I think it's accelerated a lot with social media, and it's accelerated a lot under Trump and MAGA.
Okay,
because Trump is the first guy that just lies with impunity, and there's no accountability on the conservative side when he does.
So speaking of people who believe in MAGA, it seems like, based off of the rhetoric that you have said, all of the people in here and the millions of people who are kind of fall under that umbrella of, believing in Make America Great Again, you act like we're some cult and we're, some evil people. All of us are human. Every person in this room.
I mean, asylum seekers are human, illegal immigrants are human, but you guys talk about deporting.
Can you stop interrupting me? I'm talking.
Yeah, you're virtually
I'm talking.
I don't really care.
I'm talking.
Okay, so am I.
Let's be respectful.
I don't have to be.
So everyone here in this room is human, and people who are Make America Great Again and who go to these Trump rallies love each other and love other people and love humans and they want to see the betterment of society and betterment of everybody in this country.
Return to your seats.
What's up, Stephen? Okay. So again, I think that the misinformation is far more rampant on your side. Kamala Harris'
What are like
entire,
three
wait,
big
yeah.
misinformation? Okay.
Project 2025. Huge misinformation. It's not Trump's
What's
plan.
the misinformation? Trump's Vance probably supports it. I think Trump broadly
Is
supports
Trump
a lot of
Trump Vance?
Vance?
Yeah, you can see.
But this guy's like 27. He's got a full head of gray hair, man. I kind of feel bad for this guy.
He supports a lot of things.
Vice
That doesn't mean he
presidential
supports the
candidate.
plan. Yeah, okay. Can VPs and presidents disagree with each other?
I guess Pence and him disagree quite a bit.
Okay,
I guess.
great. That's fine. Okay.
That's fucking tough.
There have been plenty of examples of this in the past, like McKinley and Roosevelt disagreed staunchly. Okay, so this is not rare. Project 2025 is Kamala Harris's primary talking point, and it is not Trump's agenda. Trump has his own agenda published on his website, Agenda 47. There are some overlaps there. He agrees with some things in that project, but not all of them. The primary one being, again, Kamala Harris's biggest talking point, which is that Trump is going to institute a national abortion ban, which he has publicly disavowed.
Well, I think the problem was for a long time, I don't think he would say no to that, although I think he has said that he
said
wouldn't
no,
vote on it.
over and
now.
over again, he said no.
I've heard him go back and forth on it. Personally, I don't like the Project 2025 talking point. I think it's kind of cringe. I don't know
if it's misinformation.
Would I go as far as to call it misinformation? I'm not sure.
Why?
But even if I would call it
Why
misinformation,
wouldn't you call it misinformation, Dustin?
Because it's written by a conservative think tank.
Okay, so what?
Broadly
So
speaking.
who
Hold
cares?
on.
So what?
Yeah, well, I might say that if even if I were to grant that as to be misinformation, it's nowhere near on the level of Haitians are eating cats and dogs.
Okay. Do you think that, I actually argue totally the opposite, right? I think that it definitely is on that level, considering she's prescribing Trump's entire policy platform, trying to claim that Trump's entire policy platform is something that it isn't. And there are lots of things that Republicans disagree in that policy
Donald
platform.
Trump, if he wanted,
and it's a lie.
And if Donald Trump wanted to fight against it, maybe he could just have a policy platform, and maybe just.
He does have a policy platform. Agenda 47. It's on his website.
Yeah, I've read it.
Yeah, he
It's
does.
a joke. It's things like we're going to bring down the interest rates. He can't even do that
That's
as
the same thing with
president.
Kamala Harris's policy platform.
No, she can't
Her
bring down
entire
interest
section
rates.
on housing is 4 paragraphs.
Yeah, but
Destiny.
she can't bring down interest rates. At the very least, there's some solid stuff there, even if I think it's a little bit too far to
Sure,
the left.
but
of me.
are you saying there's no policy proposals at all?
I'm saying that
since
Donald Trump,
47?
when Donald Trump speaks, he doesn't talk.
It's more
policy
fleshed out
ever.
than her plan.
No,
for
I
sure.
don't think so.
Okay. Her entire housing section is 4 paragraphs, and one of them
I think
I
Donald
would
Trump's
hardly
is
count as
one.
a paragraph.
I think it's 1 paragraph.
All right,
Okay, there
guys. War time.
It's 4
We're at
times
time.
better.
Okay, please
All right.
return to your seat.
They gave us a
Bro, 1 hour and 30.
list of what it was that your positions are going to be,
Wait,
or what your prompts were going to be.
Wait, when?
I think it's sneaky to have like a coordination like that. This group who was doing this debate on this thing, right? A lot of them really knew each other pretty good, and they had group chats and things like this, right? And they coordinated, like they coordinated pretty closely on some of these attacks and the way that they were going to do the attacks. And so if you have the benefit of having the topics up front, which everybody involved does.
So even though I'll agree with this, right? I think that sometimes can be fine. I don't see that as a problem in general, right? Having more information, right, makes the debate better. I think it'll look like it's like a bias, right? But you're putting some like a hardcore degen master of debate or whatever against fucking cuck noobs. Like, even if more information is fine because the world has all the information, so therefore it's okay to have as much as you can, as much as you. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, behind. Yeah. Actually, you know what?
Guys, this is a butt lobby. Okay, you want your butt lobby to have a pistol or to have an AR? Okay, I want my butt lobby to have ARs. Like, this is a butt lobby. I don't have to tell you.
This one, right over here. I chose you because you'll break my heart the most. Because you sound somewhat reasonable, intelligent, but you just say the craziest things. And yeah, so now I'm just going to try to figure out for 10 minutes if you really believe it or if you're hardcore just carrying water for some political side.
So, Stephen, my claim is that President Biden should pardon President Trump. No matter who wins the election, President Biden ran on unity when he came and gave that inauguration speech on January 20th, 2021. He wanted to unify the country. The best way for President Biden to leave office is to pardon President Trump and to try to bring the country together. I think as a MAGA movement, 75 million people may look at Biden and say, look, we have our political disagreements with this guy. But the fact that he pardoned Trump, much like Gerald Ford did, much like there's examples in our country of folks reaching across the aisle and doing, at that point, I think you could probably argue that Trump has the authority to pardon himself.
If he was going to do that, he would pardon the crack smoke at the same time, like 2 birds, 1 stone.
Largely these
like,
cases will drop if he doesn't win the election. But I think it would be a very powerful signal for the unity of the country for President Biden to pardon him.
I think there are at least 3 really good reasons why that should absolutely never happen.
Okay.
So the first one is Donald Trump doesn't need to be pardoned because the Supreme Court's already said that the president can enjoy full and absolute criminal immunity when he's doing his job. So if he's already gotten that carve out from the Supreme Court, well, why should he need any more help to be pardoned for any other types of crimes, unless we're saying that he did crimes that weren't even part of the job of being the president? I would say that's the first one. Do you want to do the other two? Or do you want to go for it? Okay. The other two, the second one, where we say like, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and say he acts in his last 4 years as president will be remembered for the rest of history.
Oh yeah, it's like bonus
off a ledge.
Yeah,
and I notice a lot of times when I have challenging conversations with people, I get all of these comments that pop up, whether it's me talking.
She says this is kind of bullshit. So that's whatever. I agree.